Hi, and welcome to the Week 2 edition of The Grid. I'm joined again this week by Marcus Gutierrez, Ray Castillo, and I'm Mike Forman, and we're going to talk about the games coming up Friday night, quite a few games. This is actually, because of the district that West and East are in, this is actually the last week that we have all non-district games. So let's get right into it. We'll jump into it with Victoria West. They're playing their home opener against San Benito. And Marcus, why don't you tell us first a little bit about what happened at Calhoun, and then maybe talk a little bit about what you expect from San Benito.
Going back to last week, week 1, the season opener against St. Crabs, it came down to the wire like we thought it would again for the third straight year. The offense was fluent. Tyvon Hardrick looked very ready to carry that load for the Warriors, scored all 3 of their touchdowns. But it was the defense late there. Calhoun goes down the field to score. They decide to kick. They decide to go for 2 points, but come up short, and that ends up being the game right there. Talking with Coach Whitaker after the game, you kind of wish he would have put his backup kicker, but it's the first game of the season. We saw good things from both teams. West, that defense, they got 3 turnovers, an interception by Bryce Sickett, which is really big. So the defense and offense were moving pretty good, and we got to see Donovan Harris play. Played very great. Coach Boyce was very proud of his junior St. Clair in his first varsity game. He looked similar to Jordan Fillmore. So I think that's good, having that dual threat ability. It was a good win for the Warriors, the third straight win, defeating Calhoun. So I know Coach Boyce and them were happy about that. Calhoun, it comes with those turnovers again, but that first drive, they drove all the way down the field, about 71 yards, I think it was, and they were dominant. West could not stop them, so I think that was very positive for Calhoun. Did the same thing coming out in the third quarter. So I know Calhoun might have lost, but you could see very good things about that. And now you said about the home opener.
Yeah, San Benito, of course, last week they played Cal Allen close. Mm-hmm. So, and it's a 6A team, so what should we expect?
Talking to Kay Michelin yesterday at practice, he says they're hyped for this game. This is a 6A against a 5A, so they're really looking forward to go up against a team that's up in that 6A rank. And they're looking to win this game, season opener for all these seniors. A very close group. They know that they're a great team, and we'll see what happens on Friday.
Yeah, and of course Calhoun will go to Stafford for its second game. And speaking of the first road game of the season, we have East going down to play Gregory Portland. That's a former district opponent of East. So those teams should be fairly familiar. Kind of a rough start for the Titans, right, Ray?
Yeah, they took a 21-12 lead into halftime against Class 4A Columbia. Unfortunately for East, turnovers came back to haunt them. They had some early ones. They finished with 5 for the game, and they couldn't get going offensively in the second half, and Columbia was able to hold on for the win. But yeah, like you said, Mike, Gregory Portland now, that's where the focus has shifted to, and talking with some of the players and Coach Gonzalez earlier, they're looking for a team that is similar, not only of being a former district opponent, but a team that runs the spread offense as well, and and they're coming off a nice defensive game after shutting out Corpus Christi Carroll, and they offensively they have 2 big weapons. You look at Brian Hayer, he passed for 144 yards last week, and then running back Joe Sasada, he ran for 166. So the defense is going to have to step up again if they want to contain the Wildcats, but it should be a good matchup.
Right, and that quarterback, of course, stepped in. He wasn't the quarterback last year. And, of course, I know Coach Rick Rhodes, he was the coach at Cameron Yo when they won all those state championships. And he came down to Gregory Portland. He's trying to get that program going. So we'll see if East can bounce back against GP. And we have a couple of big area games this week. One of them features 2 very highly ranked teams that I'll be at, and that'll be Goliad at Refugio. A lot of anticipation over this game. Last year, if you remember, they were afraid this game might not even be played because of the hurricane, and what happened is they ended up moving it to Goliad, and Refugio was able to pull out a 28-21 win. But this game should be very exciting because you have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, and it's a big game for Goliad because these seniors on Goliad's team, and they have 17 of them, have never beaten Refugio in a varsity game. So this is their last shot at the Bobcats. And there's, Refugio looks at it like this is their game this year. Coach Jason Herring even said, this is their game. In the past, they played Cameron Yo, they played Navarro, teams that are bigger classifications, and give them a hard time, but it's always a good test, and it exposes any weaknesses that they might have. So a lot of anticipation and excitement, going into this game. And another huge game that happens, this will be the 109th game between DeWitt County rivals Cuero and Yoakum. This game will be at Bulldog Stadium in Yoakum. Cuero got off to an exciting start against Bay City when they came from, behind there at the end with less than 2 minutes left, had a 92-yard touchdown pass on 4th and 12 to win that game. And of course, Yoakum had kind of a difficult start against Bernie, which is also a 4A team. And Coach Bo Robinson said that the Bulldogs turned the ball over 8 times, including 4 times in the first quarter. So obviously they need to correct that. And Ray, what are you expecting? You'll be at that game.
Yeah, just a great overall game, when it comes to not just the history, but, these two powerhouses going against each other. Sure, it's non-district, but, anytime Cuero and Yoakum play, it should be exciting. And the question for Cuero will be, can they overcome some of the injuries that they have right now? Hopefully, they can do that. And as for the Yoakum, they don't want to lose 2 games in a row, so they'll be looking to to play their best game. But totally different teams from last year. But you look at Cuero, the question is still the injuries. We're not sure if Jordan Whittington's going to play, but from what you've seen, Mike, Travis or Evie, he's going to expect the challenge in solo bow.
Yeah, it's always interesting, these two, and how they approach it. And like they've said, the good thing about this game, kind of for both teams, is it's a non-district game. But that doesn't mean that that both Cuero and Yoakum badly want to win this game. I mean, it's bragging rights. It's kind of like Goliad Refugio. When you have towns that are so close by, the kids all know each other and they get together all the time. So they want to win this game. And another game we want to talk about, Marcus, St. Joseph is going to Shiner to play St. Paul. And gosh, it's been a long time. I think the last time these two teams actually played was 2005. Obviously, St. Joseph is a much bigger school than St. Paul. But back in the day, these teams were once in the same district. And boy, they had some great games, some great rivalry games. And you've seen St. Paul before, and what should the Flyers expect going over to Shiner?
The thing about St. Paul is that they're a very solid fundamental team. They're not going to make that many mistakes. Coach Wasmick, he always preaches those fundamentals, so you're not going to see a lot of penalties at all. We saw St. Joseph last week get their win under first year head coach Brian Jones. Big win over Bloomington, scored a lot of points. It's going to be interesting to see a young coach going against a veteran. We're going to see if those athletes from St. Joseph can handle, a program like St. Paul. St. Paul, they didn't win a state championship last year, but the 2 years before that, they were back-to-back TAP state champs. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can go against a program like St. Paul.
Yeah, and I know, Ray, you were saying you spoke with Coach Brian Jones, and he brought that up about St. Paul's tradition.
Yeah, like Marcus said, the first thing he told me was you can't make mistakes against a team like St. Paul, regardless of what classification they are. If you make any mistakes, they'll make you pay for it. And, that's what his approach is going to be. He didn't celebrate the Bloomington win too much because he knows that, each game is new, and their ultimate goal is to get back to the playoffs. And and hopefully, though, they can carry some momentum from that win over Bloomington. I mean, and that's what Brian wants to see. He was very proud of his offense. He said if there was one thing he could do better, it was the defense not taking advantage of getting turnovers. And But other than that, he was very pleased, and he hopes that they can carry that against the Cardinals.
Right, and down the road a little bit, St. Joseph will be playing Industrial.
Mm-hmm.
The Cobras open up the season with a big win at Mathis for new head coach Jamie Dixon. Well, they go home, and they have a real challenge this week. They have to play Shiner, ranked number 4 in the state in Class 2A. And I was speaking with Industrial Defensive Coordinator Craig Nairn, and he said when he looked at the tape of Shiner, the thing that jumped out at him was how big they are on the line. Shiner's huge, and they showed their strength last week against Hallettsville. They shut out Hallettsville. So Shiner's back. I mean, it's not like they really ever went away. I mean, last year, a rebuilding year, and you only lose 3 games. That's pretty impressive. But Coach Cherney has his team going. I think it's a team he likes. It's the kind of team he likes to coach. I mean, you've seen Shiner, and you know what they can do when they get going.
Yeah, that Veer offense, it seemed to be doing great last week. Doug Brooks, freshman, got in there, got in the end zone. And that Veer, sometimes defenses have trouble with that because not a lot of people do that. But Coach Cherney's been able to plug players in there, and it's been able to move. Coach Cherney always likes playing up against competition because sometimes the districts aren't that good. But he played Hallettsville last year, the 3A. You're going against another 3A. So these are good games for stepping stones for the season to come.
Right, and the other thing is this year actually Shiner's actually running some wing T stuff that assistant coach Randy Palmer, he was the head coach at Three Rivers, and that's the offense he ran before he came over there. So Shiner's kind of incorporated some of that, and because they have so many starters back, they were able to do it. When you have experience, that allows you to do more things, which always helps. So there'll be a lot of good games around the area. Was there anything last week that surprised y'all, or what was the biggest maybe surprise for y'all?
I think last week, Karn City and Kennedy.
Yeah.
That was the 100th time they met.
Yeah.
Coach Jim Wood and the Badgers got a big win there. I think that was very important. When a team plays each other 100 times, that's big for the community. So I'm pretty sure next year they're going to be looking for 101. A lot of great games. We saw like Refugio last week with the freshman quarterback getting a win. I think that was very important. Jordan Kelly had looked poised. He had a big touchdown run. I think that was very huge. And it's exciting. Everyone, they might have had some first game jitters, but Texas high school football's back, and that's what we all in the state of Texas love.
Yeah. Anything from you, Ray?
Yeah, the Ganado game, Coach Ryan getting his win in his debut.
Yeah.
And that one, went down to the wire, and they were able to pull out the victory. And I thought that was a pretty good matchup.
And of course, I know we had some big time performances. Dimitri Monroe at Van Bleck with against Bowling had he had over 240 yards, and then of course Kenny Haynes, back where he was, he had 222 yards. So, and then passing wise, out at Fall City, Keyshawn Johnson threw for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, and Seth Gomez at Beeville also over 300 yards for 5 touchdowns. So, wherever you go, you're going to see some great athletes. And then, if you want to get out on a Friday night and just check out a game, I suggest you do that. And if you can't do it, keep in touch with us on advosports.com. We'll be tweeting the games. We'll get the scores out as soon as we can, and just follow us there. And I'd also like to say, if y'all have any questions, feel free, to ask us, and we'll try to answer it. And I know we've got Tom Martinez here kind of monitoring things, and he'll let us know if there's anything that y'all want to know, and we'll try our best to answer it. But until then, we'll see you next week on the Grid.